Hey everybody, the Super Vader 400 here. This is my full review of the Toxic Crusaders cartoon, which of course, for those of you who already don't know, is based on the Toxic Avengers films, but I'm pretty sure everybody knows that. I got into this cartoon, I saw it as an advertisement on Hulu, a channel for watching lots of cartoons, television shows, and movies, and in the picture in the ad, I saw the character designs of the Toxic Crusaders, the main protagonist of the cartoon itself, and it looked awesome. It looked awesome, and and I watched, it, and I instantly became a fan of the Toxic Crusaders and the Toxic Avengers franchise. I've been watching the cartoons and movies all over again, but this cartoon was awesome. I had not had this much fun with a cartoon in a long time. This cartoon was action packed, funny. This cartoon was action packed, funny, well written, and just downright hilarious, man. I was laughing and having a good time throughout this entire cartoon. This cartoon follows the same plot of the movies, except this cartoon is much more tamer for younger audiences than the movies. But the main character, Melvin Junko, the local janitor at the Toma Health Center, he's getting bullied by these punks, and one of course, just like in the movies, the woman, I keep forgetting the woman's name in this cartoon, but just like in the movie, the woman promises to go on a date with Melvin, but tells him to show up in a certain place in a tutu. Melvin, of course, idiotically goes along with it, puts on the tutu, shows up in the place. Everybody laughs at him. Melvin tries to get away in panic, but he accidentally trips and falls into some toxic waste. And first he mutates into two things. In a funny moment, he mutates into an actor, then another annoying guy, which I don't remember. That was a funny moment. Then he finally mutates into the toxic Avenger. This show, of course, is about the main character Toxie and the rest of the Crusaders, Major Disaster, No Zone, and Headbanger, and Junkyard protecting the city of Tromaville from Dr. Killamoff, his henchman Psycho, Bonehead, and his other henchmen, the Radiation Rangers. His boss is a small insect thing called the Dr. Smog. I keep pronouncing his name. I promise I keep pronouncing his name, but I usually like to talk about I usually like to name Killamoff as the main protagonist, even though this Dr. Zozography, I keep forgetting his name, is the main antagonist of the series. But I like to call Killamoff the main antagonist of the series because he appears more often and the other guy rarely appears. But that's the plot of the series. In the first episode, after Melvin gets mutated into Toxie, he goes back to his mom's place. His mom faints, and he says, "Now what will I do?" And in another funny moment, he says, his mom for a minute wakes up and says, "Go to the toxic waste dump," then falls back, then goes back to sleep, and Melvin, and then of course Toxie goes to the toxic waste dump. There he witnesses Yvonne, a near blind person, of course, who is based on Sarah, Toxie's girlfriend from the film, being attacked by Bonehead, and two other crooks. Toxie beats the crap out of all of them and tosses Bonehead into a trash can of toxic waste, and he gets mutated into what looks like a mutant skeleton. It looks like a mutant zombie like skeleton type person, and he joins Dr. Killamoff to get revenge on Toxie, and later on Dr. Killamoff, Psycho, Bonehead, and the Radiation Rangers bring the fight to Toxie. Toxie takes care of all of them And while he is doing that, Major Disaster and No Zone come, and No Zone, who saw him on television, come recognize that he is a super mutant and come to join his team, and of course they become the Toxic Crusaders. No Zone is a guy with a balloon for a leg with an airplane's cap who used to be a pilot but got mutated by toxic waste, and he can do superhuman sneezes. Then of course you got Major Disaster, who was a sergeant, a guy in the army. He got mutated, and now he has the power to create trees. He has the power to create trees, and both of them are mutants of superhuman size and strength, which that's a running joke throughout the series. In the second episode, mad scientist Bender is ordered by Dr. Killumoff to come up with a plan to stop the Toxic Crusaders or he'll die. Dr. Bender comes up with a soup. Dr. Bender comes up with some soup that will mutate anyone. That will mutate anyone. In this same episode, Dr. Fender, a surfer-like dude, comes to deliver the message that if he doesn't stop the toxic, that if he doesn't come up with a plan, Dr. Killumoff will kill him. Dr. Killumoff will kill him. In this scene, after a hilarious message, Dr. Bender tries to give Fender some of the soup. He says no. Both of them accidentally end up in an atom smasher machine and become two halves of the same body. Two halves of the same body. One half the surfer dude Fender, and the other half the surfer dude Bender. Throughout the show, he comes up with a plan called Magoop 82, which I think that's what it was called, which is a special chemicals they put in fries. They put in fries at burgers. They put in fries that causes people to become nearsighted old people, and then of course at the end of the episode, in that same episode, after Headbanger sees after Headbanger sees Yvonne, Toxie's girlfriend, and that chicks prefer the heroes, Dr. Fender decides to give up. They both decide to give up their villainous ways and become Toxic Crusaders, but not before coming up with a cure to cure all the innocent people, and to stop Dr. Killumoff from poisoning the broccoli and all the vegetables. There was one hilarious moment in this episode where Toxie, before he was about to beat up Headbanger, he says, "Say, you ready for that beating now?" He said it all nonchalantly and sarcastic. Then of course in the third episode they meet Junkyard, who in another funny moment, he talks about his backstory. First he asks, is there time for a backstory? He says, sure, we got several minutes left, and there's a long time before Dr. Killumoff comes up with another plan to destroy us. And he reveals that he was originally a dog, but a homeless person came into his house and merged with him, and he became Junkyard. A dog, a half human. He became a anthropomorphic dog with overalls on. And of course, that's all the character. There's also Mrs. Junko, Toxie's mother, and of course, I named the bad guys. These are all the mainstay characters. There are several characters who appear like once. There are several new characters who appear like once throughout the series, but because of the show's short run, most of those characters, if any, made more than one appearance. This show is pretty much your stereotypical late 80s, early 90s cheesy action comedy or comedy action type cartoon. But at the same time, what makes this cartoon clever is that it parodies and references all those cartoon cliches, like one awesome reference where they go in the sewer and they reference the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I love this cartoon because when I was watching it, it reminded me of course, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, of course, with the focus on action and comedy. Captain Planet. I love Captain Planet, but this show is 1,000 times better. This show is 1,000 times better with the eco environment friendly storyline. Then of course it also reminds me of the X-Men, except more comical, because of course the main characters are mutants of superhuman size and strength and different types of powers, different types of powers. Another funny thing about this show is Dr. Killamoff's other henchman, Psycho. Bonehead is pretty much your stereotypical dumb guy. He's like Bebop and Rocksteady rolled into one. Your dumb henchman, dumb muscle guy. All he knows how to do is fight and attack, and he's easily beaten and outsmarted by the heroes. Then you got Doctor Psycho. Then you got Psycho, who has the uncanny ability to see the future, and usually inadvertently, and usually much to Killamoff's annoyance or obliviousness, prevents the disasters in his plans, which usually cause the Toxic Crusaders to come back and beat Dr. Killamoff. Like I said, this show from beginning to end was awesome, and I'm kind of pissed that there wasn't any more after this. This show was gonna, according to Lloyd Kaufman, one of the creators of the show, at the beginning of the episode, you get a message from him. This show was well on its way to becoming a household name, but this show was canceled by the people upstairs, and canceled only after 13 episodes, and I think that sucks, because I would have loved to seen a crossover with the X-Men, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and Captain Planet, because this show was awesome, and every time I see all that merchandise, I want all that merchandise. Like I said earlier, this cartoon was action-packed, hilarious, comedic, and just heroic. The characters were relatable, and funny. All the characters were relatable. The voice acting was good, especially Kathy Seuss, the popular Kathy Seuss, who voices Yvonne. She had the most hilarious voice in the cartoon. Then of course, I love all the puns, all the references to other shows, the parodies of the action comedy cartoon genre, and I love the animation. It's a mixture of the late 80s and early 90s animation, which is my opinion when animation was really starting to become good. And it's also similar to anime. And this was just an awesome cartoon. And like I said, I'm obsessed with the Toxic Avenger franchise. I hope when the new Toxic Avenger movie comes out, I hope it becomes popular enough to spawn another animated series. I would love a continuation of this series. Well, alright, the Super Vader 400 out.